Is the most famous airplane in the world, but one East Tennessee veteran has more flight hours on Air Force One than many presidents combined.
President Bush's first trip.
Based on the photos and signatures in this personal scrapbook.
One day in the mail, I got this one from him after he left office. Barbara and Jenna Bush. I've known them since they were like 2 or 3 years old.
It could be a museum exhibit.
This is one that President Ford, one of my favorites.
Early on in life, this Louisiana native was told she would be barefoot and pregnant by age 15.
I come from a welfare family, white trash on the other side of the track.
Every time we see this plane from President Nixon through President Clinton, you're on it.
I was on it unless I was sick, had an emergency.
Kim Johnson is an Air Force veteran who served her country by serving a half a dozen presidents, the most of any crew member to ever fly aboard Air Force One. Her military service started at the age of 17 and quickly led to an administrative post in Saigon during the war in Vietnam.
My boss, General Vandenhay, says to me, "You can't come to Vietnam and not have the full experience." He took me over to the morgue. I had only been in country 2 months, and a truck was blown up in front of our hotel. And it's like, okay, I'm ready to go home.
She would stay almost 2 years and credits her achievements, hard work, and contacts she made overseas with helping her earn a coveted job back home. Vietnam led to your career on Air Force One.
Basically, if I look back and say yes, that's exactly what happened. When I first came on board, President Nixon was in office. So when he steps on board that airplane, any administrative assistance that he needs, if his secretary is not there, that was my role.
A surprise holiday trip overseas was among her most memorable flights.
President Bush, when we went to Saudi Arabia, surprised the troops for Thanksgiving. The smiles on their faces.
There was also the trip to South America, where before going, she had to write a farewell note to her family.
It was when the drug cartel was at its highest peaks there. It's going to be dangerous, and they had heat-seeking missiles on the mountaintops.
This is the Secret Service saying, we think there's a good chance Air Force One could get shot down.
Right, but if you decide to go, we want you to write a letter to your loved ones, put it in a sealed envelope. That's when the fear starts.
She made the trip and hundreds of others, getting to know presidents and their families, starting with President Nixon's daughters.
Julie was so down to earth, give her a hot dog and she was happy. Tricia was required high-level handling. Ford was a very nice individual, him and his wife both.
How about Carter?
Carter was a gentleman, probably one of the nicest people, nicest presidents that I ever met.
She describes President Carter sitting over her shoulder and dictating campaign speeches into the wee hours of the night as they crisscrossed the country. Reagan.
Oh, wonderful individual, a wonderful individual. I loved working with him, and he was just such a gentleman.
Bush, 41.
Loved him, both of them. If you were on his staff, it didn't matter whether you were at Camp David, you were Air Force One, you were Marine One, you were White House Communications Agency, you were his family.
President Clinton.
Well, that's a different story. When I had any interaction with him, it was like you were the only person in the universe.
This photo with President Clinton and 2 longtime friends marked her last flight aboard Air Force One as a member of the crew and 26-year veteran of the Air Force. When you look back at your career, do you need to pinch yourself?
I do. Just because you start somewhere doesn't mean you have to end up there.
You can watch any and all of the stories we featured tonight in the Service and Sacrifice section of WBIR.com. Thank you for